welcome to Real Talk, episode 152. I'm Todd, this is AJ, and we're back.
152, better for you.
There you go. 152 is better for you.
Hey,
Come
you
check
know
us
what?
out today. I'm not going to tell you what Real Talk is
That's right.
because you all either have heard it or don't care.
That's right.
So that's what we're going to go with. Welcome to the show. So we'll dive right in here. Later we'll get some anonymous questions asked by you. You'll see a link here. Use it if you want. www.theremnant.live/real-talk.
Boom.
Bingo, bango. So
Boongo.
I suppose we'll dive right in here with how's your life been? I said that very strangely. I'm used to my normal spiel.
Yeah, man. It kind of throws you off a little bit, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You get used to that stuff. It messes with your brain. I'm doing pretty good.
It does.
Yeah, man. I'm doing pretty good. I would say one of the latest life realizations for me, which is can tend to be, a theme. It usually tends to repeat itself, but is realizing that, we went through the Kingdom series, which is a great series that he preached. If you haven't looked at it, I highly suggest it. One of the big parts of that series was looking in the mirror. And a lot of people, whether you've listened to the series or you go to our church or you don't know about it, the mirror is essentially just looking at yourself and realizing like why you need Christ. That's kind of how I look at it. Like you're looking at the ugly parts of yourself that there might be parts of you that don't want to admit that they're there, or it's just so gross to you that you don't even want to think about it.
For the purpose of it, of really being healed, and knowing that you're loved anyway.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes, that you get to see that reflection of yourself and realize it's covered by Christ, and that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And so for me, one thing that I've realized is I tend to not want to look at that mirror because I'm still under this. I don't even know what to call it, man. Like this preconceived notion, I suppose, that like I am good, and I am good with Christ, but a lot of the bad parts of me, I don't like to admit that they're there because it's hard for me to handle that. Because I've went so long in my life before I knew Jesus, like that's what I based myself on. That was my identity. Was like, oh, like AJ's a good guy. He is kind. He is nice. And maybe those things were true, but there was parts of me that I didn't want to face that were bad in that, And so that's one thing that I'm still trying to do is I'm still trying to look in the mirror and see those parts of me, One thing that I've realized is, and it was cool, man, I had a good talk with you yesterday, was a lot of the time I can blame a lot of the struggles in my life on laziness. And even though it is true that I'm a lazy person.
Go on, sorry. Such an interesting statement. Go on.
Even like, and I can be a lazy person, and but what's underneath that, and this is something that this is one of the newest things in the mirror I've not wanted to face, is that there's a lot of times, man, where I can have a hard time caring about things, and I can tend to blame that on my laziness instead, even though laziness is just, I think laziness is a byproduct of that. The laziness is a byproduct of by not caring.
Yeah.
And so it was really convicting, man, and I mean, it made me really sad because I realized, I think, and this is something I have not, completely thought through or even I'm even solid on, but like, I think a big reason why I can struggle to have a hard time caring is because in the past when I have cared, it's hurt a lot. Whether that's from relationships or whether that's from something that I really loved and it let me down, I get that. And that's something that I've never actually thought about, because for me, especially before I knew Jesus, a lot of the time I would something would happen and I'd go, okay, that's that, and move on. I wouldn't think about how it made me feel. I wouldn't think about like what, how that affected me. I wouldn't think of it. I would just try to accept the reality of what happened and go, that happened. Move on. And so I realized, man, that because I didn't express those hurts, man, I think it's kind of numbed me to passion. It's kind of numbed me to like caring about stuff sometimes because I don't want to get hurt, And
I get that, man.
And it's hard because now that I'm starting to realize this kind of stuff more, it makes me realize that I can do that to people. like they've done to me in the past because of my lack of care that results in laziness, that results in frustrations from others, or results in hurt from others. I'm doing the same thing that people might have done to me.
So like you're hurting someone else the way you were hurt.
Exactly.
Essentially, what you're saying. Gotcha.
Yes, and that sucks.
I get it, man.
So that's just really convicting, and like sometimes I can feel like I am almost bitter at life sometimes because I'm like I can look at like the little kid in me and go like that was an excited little boy who like had a lot of aspirations and then it just died. That's what it can feel like. But he's still in there. Like
Yeah, man.
like and like that's where the hope is too. Like it's just, the way I was raised, I didn't really like life kind of just hit me really hard because I wasn't prepared. And so I think my dreams very quickly died. Well, or they didn't die, they're still there, but like they were just, I don't know, man, they were choked, I guess, kind of choked out. And I think this process is cool because the hope is that I can slowly that choke can slowly become, it's let go and it starts coming back and I can feel passion coming back, and that's the hope. And I don't know, man, sorry if that's a ramble, doesn't make any sense.
I think that makes sense.
But that's kind of, I guess that's kind of where I'm at. Like that's one of my newest things I've seen, and it's cool, man, because for a long time I was having a hard time putting stuff together. Like I'd be like, okay, I see this thing about myself, but then I couldn't figure out the other side of it. And I don't know, man, it's always so true that like talking to others who love you and who are there for you and aren't just gonna sit there and like judge you for your ugliness, like that's what really helps you come to these places.
It's really good. We need each other. Yeah.
Exactly. So like, I appreciate all you guys, because without you guys, like I wouldn't have even pieced that together without any sort of conversation. Then, so I love you guys and I appreciate you because I think this is a really cool step for me, and seeing that, because instead of like wanting to wallow in my own pity, it's more like, dude, I want to rediscover like that little kid again who wasn't hurt yet by life and like wasn't hurt by letdowns and whatnot, And now that I'm older, I can go, okay, like it doesn't matter if there's maybe letdowns or if there's, there's bumps in the road. Like that doesn't mean I have to just let it all go,
It's good, man.
So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. And it's funny because even though it may sound like somber, like there's a lot of hope in it. Like I am hopeful.
Yeah, I don't think it comes across really that somber this time.
That's cool.
Like, which is pretty cool. It seems pretty just like this is life. This is what it is, and almost like you said, hopeful in the sense that now you see it.
Yeah.
What do you do with it? How do you take it and apply what you're learning? There's an old Englishman. Why'd I do that?
Did you say there's an old Englishman? Is that what you did? There's an old Englishman across the way. I guess the way I apply it is, I look at my situation now, where I'm at in life, and I go, okay, what do you want? Okay, you know what you want. Now, instead of letting the past, hurts of being let down or being scared to take a leap or whatever it is, like let it go and just do things, like actually invest. I feel like a lot of people, and this includes me, we never fully understand what investing in something really is because of our fear. Like I don't want to ever fully invest in even like say, let's take like media, for example. Like I don't ever want to fully invest in media because what if I do my best and it's not good? That kind of thing. I think that fear just holds back so many people, and that's me. So like, and then also like, just be honest with myself and others in moments where I am feeling that fear. Like, yeah, man, I'm scared right now. Or yeah, dude, I don't feel like trying very hard because I'm scared it's gonna not be good enough. Like,
when you have those moments where you're like, okay, if I try my best and it's not good enough, where is the idea? Do you not have the idea of like, okay, then I can just do it again and do better? Like I'll learn from that. Why isn't that genuinely like? Why do you think that's not in your mindset? To like try again. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think for me,
Because I do think a lot of people have that. So I'm just curious, like, what the people that struggle with that specifically, were the hindrance of, I could do better, I could learn from it and do better.
I think it's arrogance.
How so? Oh, like
like
mine will be the best, or what do you mean?
like how dare my first attempt not be good enough?
That's really honest. Yeah.
Because my whole life I feel like I've struggled with, if I'm not immediately good at something, I don't want to do it.
I mean, that's fair. That makes sense.
So like, I've always, that's why like sports was good for me up until a certain age, because I was naturally a little gifted and stuff, because of, like, my parents are both athletic, and so like I had, and the way I was raised, like I was always like practicing with the older kids because my brother and stuff, so like I had a natural advantage over some kids in my grade.
Sure.
But the older we got, the more clearly they would catch up, and like sometimes that the hard work would outdo the natural talent.
Yeah.
And like I think sometimes, like throughout life, the older I got, the more I realized, well, if my first attempt at something isn't the best or isn't good, then I don't want to do it. And so yeah, man, I think if anything, it's kind of a little bit of arrogance, and like the fact that like, or it's like my ego can't handle that. So
It's kind of interesting because I was thinking about myself. Like, I think I was kind of backwards, and maybe in a way it stunk when I was a kid, but it sort of helped me because when I was a kid growing up, I was never told I was athletic ever. Not by my parents. I was always, I don't look, so my dad was always, I knew my mom played basketball and stuff. So I'm not stealing this. I just think it's interesting. So I need to explain it.
I love
So my mom played basketball. My dad was incredibly fast. For those that know football, he ran like a 4.3.
same dude. My dad was fast. My mom was all the sports.
40 or a 4.340. That's blazing fast. But he was like 160 kind of guy. I am far bigger than that. So anyway, and I was not a confident kid. Anyway, so I think it's actually a funny story. I've told this before of when I realized that I could do stuff. I was in like seventh grade. And it was, I think I've told this story in Real Talk. And I was down to me and the gym teacher. You remember this?
Yeah.
And in dodgeball, Mr. Lone, if you're watching Mr. Lone, and he just wung this ball at me, dude. And I dropped to the ground, flat on my stomach, just, and it went over me. And I literally, dude, I go, what the frick? How did I do that? Because I'd always thought I was just a hobo. And I randomly would have teachers. I remember teachers being like, hey, you should play this sport. And I was like, because they'd see me in gym class. But yeah, but I wasn't like you, Funtern. I wasn't 8 foot tall when I was young either. I've always been like you were both. I was not. So I was like, well, why is he saying that to me? Because Funtern looks like an NFL player. And
Right,
of course, he got asked to
6'3".
play.
Yeah.
Me. So, but what would happen was when I started playing, I mean, I picked up football naturally, like in 6th grade, and again, didn't know I was good because I played in like 2nd or 3rd and was kind of like, I didn't want to play. I wanted to read. Literally, I think I've told this before. Did I tell you guys I used to get grounded outside?
Like,
Like when I got grounded, it was, you're grounded. You can't read. Go outside. Now they would lock the door. And I couldn't come in. They're probably mad at me telling that story. Anyway, who does that? Anyway,
who does that?
So getting back to yours, though, to connect.
Yeah.
So because I didn't have that confidence, I worked as though I never was good. And then as I eventually, I mean, I probably didn't realize I was actually an above average athlete until I was in my, I knew I was above average football player, but above average athlete. I always assumed it was hard work. And I think in some ways, I wonder if that's applied in life to me of like, I train, it's that old saying, right? Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Yep.
And I feel like I've always worked as though I didn't have talent, which has helped me because I did, but I didn't realize it. You know what I mean?
They gave you that work ethic.
Yeah, exactly. And you're kind of opposite, which is interesting because, according to what you're telling me, because you had that confidence. Who told you? Who made you confident when you were a kid? Or is it just because you hung out with the older?
I think it was.
Yeah.
It was the
So then when
competitive.
you went back to these other your age,
I was eating them alive.
Yeah, makes sense.
At least in certain things.
Yeah.
And that was interesting. That's what's interesting about, from what I remember being a kid, was like, I knew my strengths and weaknesses in certain things. Clearly, I would go towards the strengths.
Sure,
So,
well, I mean,
like,
people do that.
right. And so,
I
like,
was somewhat similar as you.
so, like, for example, in like baseball, when I was a kid, like people used to think, parents used to get mad because they thought I was too old because I was just doing that well pitching. Like,
were you a fast bloomer too?
yes. I caught on to things very quickly, and like I had a competitive edge to me. Like, for example, because I practiced with older kids, especially in baseball. Like, was it might this is what's crazy. It was either t-ball or it was like or pony or like some strange in between where like they were letting kids hit from a tee, and like if you hit from the tee and you get to run to first, and like they would let them stay. But if I got out, I would go out. Like if they got me out, I would go to the and if I was ever playing out there and like I would get somebody out and they like got to stay, I was mad. I was like, they're out.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
So like, and that was when I was very young. So like,
Was your mom pretty involved since she was the softball one?
she was more. She would coach my brother,
Same situation with me, man.
but and then my dad would coach
Coached you?
me.
Gotcha.
Yep.
I
So
never got
she
coached by any
was,
of 'em.
but I would go. So
parents.
it was cool because I'd go back and forth though, because my mom would take me to their practices, to my brother's practices, and I would practice if they would get me in when they could.
Yeah.
So I would say the confidence was probably kind of more developed from that.
That makes sense.
And I was kind of a cocky punk too, because like I felt like I had something to prove, especially when I would hear like parents like getting mad at my parents because they thought like they were putting me in a league where I was like too old, you know. So that kind of put a little chip on my shoulder, kind of like, well, I'll just beat your kid and make you mad, you know. So, but it's funny
I
how that
understand
works.
chips.
It's funny though because it wasn't that strong of a chip though, because the older I got, the more people got good, and you know I slowly fell back, and then before I know it, I'm not even playing sports anymore.
Yeah.
So like, you know, if anything, it was probably an insecure confidence of like I actually probably didn't actually believe in myself. I was just kind of wearing that mask of like, yeah, I'm awesome, you know. So
Well, anyway, I appreciate sharing, man. Sorry to go off on a tangent.
no, I love
thought
this,
it was
man.
it was very interesting.
Yeah.
You know, and there's pros and cons to both. Like, it's funny. Excuse me. I don't go too weird, but you're still confident in ways. For instance, I'm not. Like, you don't really think about. It's gonna sound ridiculous. Like, you don't really think. Like, you're not like physically not confident in yourself. You know.
Yeah.
Whereas I grew up a chubby kid, I'm always like, "Don't look at me," you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's true. That is one thing that I
Which is cool.
I appreciate about myself is like I don't. That's just one thing I never had a problem with, which I'm honestly glad. Because
You should be. It's a
hard.
huge blessing. Man.
Yeah, and that's because I had friends too who were like that, who felt like insecure and that sort of thing, and like, dude, like it's hard. Like I
got
get it.
one right
Hey,
beside you.
and I'm with you. I'm here to support you.
Funtern, how you doing, man? I mean, cut you off. You
Oh
good?
no, you're fine. Yeah, it's
Oh, I'm
good.
doing good. I'm doing been living life. I've had insanity being back at work and dealing with that. So, but besides that, and I've been pretty motivated. Been having a lot of ideas and trying to get the creative juices flowing, and then doing a lot of researching with business licensing, which is probably the most confusing thing I've ever looked into in my life, because there are like 4 or 5 different ones, and I didn't go to college and I didn't pay attention in school. So I'm sitting here going, I probably learned about this in like econ or something, like at least like a little like basic stuff, and I didn't pay attention, and
Right,
now
I don't
I'm
remember
paying
anything from
for it.
econ or government.
And I'm looking up things, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I okay, and I'm like having to like find dummy guides and like explain this to me like I'm a toddler. So there's been a lot of
Yeah,
that
man.
stuff. Which has also been interesting because I also relate to you. I have a fear to move or do anything at all, which is been very strange, and a lot of it I think comes from either I don't want people to. If I do something wrong, then people will either leave or I'm doing something I shouldn't be doing. And I was never, as a kid, I was always creative, but I was never allowed to have those dreams or do any of that. Like I was very much so either you read, you stay out of the way, you do what you're supposed to do. This is the way you do things. This is it. Like, and you don't break out of that mold. Like you work 9 to 5, you do this, you do that, you get married, you have kids, da 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 da. And being ADD, that did not work very well because as much as I thrive in a structure, I also do not follow the structure because I forget the structure exists. Which then becomes a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
So I relate to you a lot in that, and I've been thinking about that a lot lately. and also trying to fight it because there's a lot of fear in it, and it's not.
There's a lot of fear, man. It's true.
That's not healthy, and it's also not being like that's not the man I want to be. So it's also like trying to go, hey, I'm gonna beat this, or I'm gonna go, or like little things like I'm gonna try and Todd said a lot of this, like I'm gonna go on the days I don't want to run, I'm gonna go run, and like
Yep.
teach myself you're gonna run, and then like I even started to feel it like I'm not back to like because I do remember when I ran intervals for a short time regularly because I was trying to get a fast mile time because I've never had a fast mile time. I'm a big kid, so
I
like
remember
I
that.
never did this. And I got down to the lowest I did, but I also remember I started doing Cincinnati's training program with you guys, and there was a moment where I was like,
Go Bearcats.
"This is interesting because I feel like I'm
Program
dying,
worked.
but I know I'm not, and it's gonna be okay."
Bingo.
And
That's it.
it's and it's super weird because I noticed it in basketball. I'm still not back to that point where I know I'm dying, but it's okay that I'm dying. Like,
Dude, now
not
you get me excited. Yeah.
because it's and that's
true,
why I didn't
man.
play as hard. And there was moments where I started getting tired, and I was like, "Gosh, dang it! Like I'm not playing as I know there's more energy there. I just haven't been able to push myself past that point to get there." And I think a part of it is confidence and things like that. But it's interesting.
There's a
I really
weird
wish I would have
will
played.
you have to like break.
Oh yeah,
That's what I love about training, man. Like, and it's good that you brought that up because it's learning to see how strong you are and how you can fight resistance. So I love the way you described it because it's so true. You get to a point, and let's just say training. That Cincinnati program we did this summer as an example. There were moments that I don't know about you. I accept it as like I'm going to die.
Oh, yeah.
Like you actually, everybody's probably laughing. It's funny now, but in the moment, you think you're dying.
Oh yeah.
oh yeah. This is
And then you just decide, well, I'm just going to keep running. Now it's too late.
Yep.
And you live, right? By the grace of God. Thank you, God.
Yeah,
but the
dude.
thing about training, I love that you said that, man, is learning to, because it does apply to life. When you learn to have discipline in any area, it does spill over to other areas. So,
Oh, definitely. Last week
a
was
cool
the first
point.
week that I was doing arms because I split up my arms and shoulders, which probably won't happen this
I
week.
did that too for a
But
while.
I did my arms, and I don't
still do.
I do a hybrid of Todd and then Cowboy Kenny's workout because
Cowboy
I
Kenny.
am a creature of habit and I have not asked to learn anything else.
Sure.
And slightly lazy. But Todd taught me some things about arms I never knew because I don't actually know anything about working out because I never did. So I finally get this thing and I understood what they said by a good pump and then I started understanding like what they mean by like a good burn. And I remember my arms were on fire, but it felt good. And it was this weird thing of like,
Yeah.
so this is what they mean. And even the next day, like my arms were definitely sore and like I felt like I may have went a little bit too hard. And I was very afraid I was going to snap something the next day. However,
You had that.
it was still like it wasn't too worrying and it was good in the
That was
moment. And I
terrible.
remember I was like, this is good. And like, I guess I'm seeing a lot of that. And it's almost, I'm being finally taught years later that it's okay. It's almost like I wish I would have been taught this a lot earlier in life. But like the suffering and the stuff you have to go through to get to your goals. And I wasn't taught that as a kid. And that I think there's a lot more there that I haven't fully I'm not fully understanding yet. But it makes me wonder back in the day when I went to that football thing because the secret was my dad played football, so I wanted to play football.
Sure.
And I was like, oh, well, maybe I should do this. And that, which would have motivated me to get better grades. It would have, because I would have felt terrible all the time that I wasn't getting good grades. But even that, and then the coach walking up to me and said, don't try. And that happening and me going, fine, I won't. I now look back at that and I'm like, man, I wish I would have just said, I can't control it now, but I should have been more confident. I should have pushed through that. And now I'm wishing I learned.
Yeah. Well, hey, man, it's never too late. And it's been cool to see you push through that and learn that and to see that you're capable of more than you think you are. I think that's the big thing, too, right? So that's neat. Thanks for sharing that.
There's a lot of beauty in that. Like,
The thing about, you said suffering, okay? Or call it what you want, pushing through. That's the reason people don't do great things, is because if it were easy to make a business, if it were easy to train, if it were easy to do the Cincinnati football work, everybody would do it, right? Because everybody wants the results that come from that. Not everybody wants to grind and put in the work to get it. And grinding shows itself in the fact of, okay, you're hitting the resistance of like, crap, I'm overwhelmed with all this business stuff. Are you going to quit or are you going to keep figuring it out? And that's something I tell you guys a lot. And that's one thing that I do believe, and I've seen one thing, there's many things, but in my own life is don't quit, man. That idea of die hard. If you're going to go down swinging, go down hard.
That's right, man.
And then get back up and do it again. So it's really cool, man. And I've definitely seen both you guys, but I've seen you push yourself. And it's funny, right? You push yourself really hard, and then you kind of got in that habit again of not. We just had this talk a little while ago, and you were comfortable not doing it, right? You didn't. You got mad when we would push you. You got mad at me for pushing you to do it. But then you start doing it again, you realize, okay, yeah, that stinks. But on the other side of that is, by the way, confidence. Mm-hmm. You know that? You develop confidence when you beat that stuff, whatever it is.
You're right.
And I would tell people listening today, you guys want to start, if you feel like you're not a confident person, start an exercise program. I mean that. You will start to feel more confident because you build up little victories. You get what I'm saying? Okay, I can't do 10 push-ups. Well, that day, so I do 2. And then the next week I do 4. And then the next week I do 6. Let's just say, that day you get to 10, I promise you, you're going to have a little bit of confidence is now there because you've accomplished something. Because a lot of times in life, you got to take those L's. Well, you got to start racking up some wins too.
That's right, man.
Got
to get some dubs.
And whatever it is, right? For real.
Oh, 100%.
So I think that's something that a lot of people, they and this kind of ties in with what you said. They're so afraid to take those L's that they won't even try to get a win.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I'd rather not, because if I don't try, I'm not losing. Yeah, but you're not winning either.
No. You're just losing. Like you're doing the thing you're scared of doing. You're losing while being scared of losing.
It's just not being called. You're not calling it losing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a perfect analogy.
It's a Teddy Roosevelt quote, right? I'd rather, the man in the arena. It's not the critic who counts or the man who points out where the strong man stumbles, right? It's, I want to be I could read it all. I love it. I know I have part of it memorized, but he essentially, the point of that poem is, let the people on the outside criticize. Yeah, but those people don't know victory or defeat. Like, they don't know anything. They're cold and gray,
And dude, another thing.
Sad existence.
Honestly, man, that's probably the majority of people.
You're right.
Well, 100% it is. And quotes like that, like, I would encourage people to, like, yes, first of all, read your Bible and read that, and there's so much good encouragement in there. But also don't just stop there. Don't treat your life like a self-help book. But there is something in looking at yourself in the mirror and going, hey, no, I'm going to do this, and like reminding yourself. Todd even mentioned this a while ago, writing things on like your wrist, and then you see it, and then you keep going. And I've started doing that. I've created little acronyms, and even like literally on my my left arm, I write BAKE, which is be a king every day.
I like that.
And then
Bake.
NWS, which is no witness stand. And I've thought about changing it to NMWS, no more witness stand. And then, which is basically when I am challenged and when I am in a moment where I have to either speak truth or talk in a more stern way, or like in like not a leadership way necessarily, but just like I have to actually share an opinion and be straightforward, or I'm being challenged and I need to learn. Like, I need to remember that I'm not on this witness stand. I don't have to defend myself. I'm not in a courtroom. And Todd taught me that too. But I also have one that says stand, move, fight. That's it. That's all you have to do. And it's just breaking down what my life is. It's time to stand. It's time to move. It's time to fight. That's it. That's all you have to do. Everything falls underneath that. And when I'm anxious, that really helps. Because I remember, even during basketball this week, I was super anxious. I had this moment where I just said, stand, move, fight. That's it. And I repeated it a few times. I'm like, show them. You are better at this than you know. Show them. And even like that social anxiety, that thing that I have that I don't talk about, where I don't like when people look at me when I play sports, or I don't feel confident, or I think people are like, oh, that guy's disgusting. Like, it's those moments where I go, no, it doesn't matter. We're doing this. We're not doing this for Todd. We're not doing this. We're doing this for me. So let's do this. Prove this to yourself, because Now, first of all, don't take that out of context. You do need to listen to people, and like they're going to teach you things. But there's also times where you have to look at yourself and have self-confidence and go, no, I need to do these things. I need to do this for me, and I need to push, and I need to fight. And like, you can't put your identity in others, and that's a big thing that I think a lot of people do.
It's good, man.
It's good stuff, dude.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
How about you, Toddy? How you doing?
I'm gonna read that poem real quick because I think it's pretty good.
Heck yeah.
So
Poetry.
don't ever pretend to ask me how I'm feeling. Everybody who's a long-term person that listens to Real Talk knows you don't give a crap how I'm doing. All right? So let's just tell the truth for once in our life here. This is called The Man in the Arena by Theodore Roosevelt. And it's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who's actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes up short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least he fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who knew neither victory nor defeat. Whew, man, that's good stuff, man. So,
Courage.
yep, courage. Anyway, how am I doing? Doing okay, man. I'm in this. I mentioned this. I feel like I've been in this journey a while. So, I'm trying to lose weight. It's been a big thing. I think I talked about this a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
So still up there. I have lost 4 pounds, which is good, but it doesn't feel like a lot because it's been miserable. I'm so sorry. It hasn't really been that rough. It hasn't done a ton more. I've added to my normal workout regimen that I walk until I burn 500 calories every day on top of that. And I found it on this training thing, and it's working. It's just, man, it's only been like 10 days, but it feels like forever.
Mm-hmm. It's a growing thing also, by the way.
Yeah, because you still have to do your other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy walking, like and listening to stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, then you got to go do your workout after. That just happened last night.
So
yeah, man. So that's been taking a lot of that's been a goal I'm on right now. I want to lose about 20 pounds minimum, and then once I get to that, I'll be okay. And then I'd like to lose 30. So we'll see. But it's hard, man. It's hard for me. And what I'm about to say may sound cocky, and it's not. If you know me at all, you guys know this. What's frustrating is I am in good shape.
you are in good
Cardio shape. You know, there aren't a lot of guys my age that can do what I do because I've worked really hard as far as like sports and running and all that. So it's weird to be that, but not look anything like it. You know what I mean? Like that's such a frustrating thing to me.
Yeah.
Because you guys also know I eat pretty well.
Yes,
right?
you do.
Like I eat fairly healthy, count my calories, and it just doesn't matter, man. So we've had a theory that I got one shot from my back several years ago, and that's kind of messed things up. And I kind of believe that.
I believe it too, man.
So I've been, trying not to be discouraged and grinding, right? Not worrying about the result, the numbers on the scale, but just continuing the process. But it's been kind of nice because I've kind of had a new fire under me training wise. You guys remember a couple months ago, I was like, man, I mean, I kept working out, but I hated it because I had no goal anymore. I used to always train for football, and I haven't played football in a while, and it's like, what's the point, So this has been kind of fun. So that's been taking some time, fun and hard.
Yeah. How much were you training? Because when I first started coming around, you were still actually playing football. So like you.
Yeah, but I had just come back from my back injury.
So
still
training
carrying
was
it.
still pretty
I was 20 pounds heavier then than I am now.
It's so crazy, man.
Yeah.
So crazy. Because I watched some of your games back in the day. I used to go ride with the craziest driver of all time, Jess.
Yeah.
I used to ride with her to your games.
You saw me pick a ball off.
I did, man. Playing
Rocking,
linebacker.
I think I was rocking like 260 something at that
yeah,
time.
dude, it was
Turned
awesome.
to punt.
I had a blast, man.
Yeah.
Those were fun times.
Balling. It wasn't for me because I was so out of shape. But I shouldn't have came back that early. But I was trying to prove something to myself.
But so during that time, since you were just come back, you probably weren't like working out as much as even like now.
Oh no, absolutely not. Now, before I knew you, when I played arena ball, when I played pro ball,
Yeah.
my training was, I would say, my training right before I signed my first arena contract was the closest to what I'm doing now.
Gotcha.
And I still think I'm doing more now as far as
Really?
cardio. Oh, absolutely.
Wow.
Back then when I was training, for those that are listening, I played indoor football, arena football for a while, pro football. Played with some really good athletes. But what I did was I did weights essentially 1, 2, 4 times a week, and on top of that did combine specific training, so like sprinting, 40 time, all that twice a week.
Right.
And then I would do some intervals at the end of my workouts. And I did that at the end of almost every workout. I was a crazy man. Yeah, dude, I did some wild stuff in there. I was able to run backwards on a treadmill at 8.5 speed.
I would die, dude.
Yeah.
I would eat
For
it so
backpedaling.
hard.
My diet was spot on though too, man. Like it's funny though, if you would have talked to that guy back then, he thought he was garbage. Like, I'm just never enough,
Uh-huh.
Because I was comparing myself to dudes on roids, like on magazines, because that's reality.
Mm-hmm.
Little news flash for guys out there: if you're comparing yourself to The Rock, John Cena, it doesn't matter any of these guys, they're on performance enhancing drugs. I'm just telling you that.
They have to.
I don't care what they tell you.
Right.
They are on performance enhancing drugs. You are not 48 years old looking like The Rock natural. Okay? That's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, it's funny because we always talk about how like magazine covers affect women. Mm-hmm. These actors and stuff affect us too, and women's views of what men can be. Because, dude, you cannot look like that.
It's not natural.
You cannot. It's not. You can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
So they're on so much stuff, man. I mean, I could tell you almost what they're on. I can know what they're on. Whether it's testosterone, and then you got your steroids. I mean, yes, don't get me wrong. You can't look like The Rock just by injecting yourself with steroids. His work ethic is unbelievable.
Oh, yeah.
And his genetics.
Yes, he's got great genetics.
When you add awesome work ethic, the awesome genetics, and performance enhancing things, that's what you get.
Yep,
You get a monster.
Yes.
And so that's how I can still admire guys that take roids. A lot of people think performance enhancing drugs. This is unrelated. I'm just going off on a tangent here. We've talked about this because it's irritating. People think like, oh, he completely cheats. I was like, no, dude. That's like Barry Bonds back in the day when like, yeah, every one of his records is wrong. I was like, no, man. I can go inject roids right now for 10 years and not hit dingers like
not
that
have
guy.
the skill.
There's not a chance, man.
Yep,
I even read a
agree.
thing once that it might have added 25 feet a couple of times to his stuff. That dude was knocking out out literally into the bay.
That's right. In San Fran, yeah, he was knocking him out, literally out of the park.
Yeah, and it wasn't his whole career. So anyway, here's the thing. Performance enhancing stuff doesn't take away from someone's work ethic because you can't take that stuff and look like those guys
Without the work. 100%.
You can't.
No.
The main thing, let me tell you the main thing roids and stuff do. P.S. Unrelated. Mm-hmm. Clearly, you guys know I've studied this. I would love to take it. If it wasn't illegal, I'd take steroids. Mm-hmm. Number one thing that's performance enhancing things. Well, as you get older, they do more things because they lose testosterone. So it just gives them testosterone, but it enables them to heal, recover quicker, to train more. That's really the only benefit of it, right? Like, I'm not so sore I can't function.
Yep.
I went off on a complete tangent on
bypasses.
performance enhancing drugs. I just wanted to share this.
It's awesome. I love it.
So,
it's good stuff.
but anyway. Classic Todd.
I love it, man.
I'm over here.
Listen, man, the camera's no longer here. We're just talking.
Yeah. So what do I think about how am I doing in my life other than that? Man, I'm doing okay. I've spent some time lately doing some really sitting in the presence of God, doing Christian meditation. Todd, that sounds hokey. No, it's not. It's just me sitting in the presence of God, focusing on a specific section of Scripture for 20, 30 minutes at a time. And, you guys have seen the effects of it. Right, you even told me. I mean, multiple guys were like, man, you seem.
Yeah.
It's so funny that we have this tendency. I don't know if you guys, but I think a lot of Christians, we believe we want to do what God tells us to do, but we have this idea that like we forget that it truly changes us to read His Word, to sit in His presence, to be renewed in the Spirit. Mm-hmm. Psalm 1 talks about he who meditates on the Word, right, on the law of God, the Word of God, is like a tree planted between two streams. The idea being incredibly healthy, right? And you're like, yeah. And I'm telling you, man, every time it's like we life gets in our way and we start telling ourselves we're going to do it. But here's the thing, and then here's the real truth. Tell me if I'm wrong. Don't you have those moments where you're like, yeah, I need to do it, but you're only doing it because you love God, want to honor Him. You're not doing it because you actually think it's going to affect your life.
Yes.
But then when you do it, you realize it does affect me.
Yes.
There is a supernatural component to this.
I 100% agree with you because I
Yeah.
haven't had a whole lot of experiences with it.
Yeah.
But I know the
Oh,
times.
sure you have. Like, it doesn't have to look like Christian meditation to sit with God. You used to do it. You just talked about it on my couch 4 or 5 years ago, right? Where you were having that moment where you were just really in the Word and
Yes,
focused. And,
that's true. Or like the time I was in the office over there.
Yeah.
And you told me to go in there, and I just like, I almost fell asleep. I almost.
you were
kinda
in that
was
place.
asleep.
No, dude, you were probably in that place between sleep and wake, as I was telling you.
Yeah, dude. And like I came out of that different. And I wrote some stuff down.
I remember.
And I was like, dang.
And you're like, I don't even remember writing it.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's been cool, is to just really focus on my relationship with Christ. And if you're listening, that can become a Christianese phrase. And like, what does he mean by work on my relationship with Christ? My relationship with Jesus Christ, my relationship with God is secure because of Jesus, okay? Amen. So when I say that, I can't get any closer or any farther from him. Well, what I can do is the more I spend time in his presence, the healthier I am.
Yes.
It's just like a tree that needs water and sunlight. When I am spending time in the presence of God, just being in his presence transforms me, right? So kind of refocusing on that stuff, man, and slowing down enough to allow myself to be ministered to by the Spirit. And in doing that, people use this analogy, the cup, to justify not doing things, but I'm going to use it in the positive way. When you're filled, right, when you've been ministered to, you are in a much healthier place to minister to others.
That's good, man.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's really the only way you can. Mm-hmm. So that's been really fun and cool the last several days.
Yeah.
So very thankful to God for his goodness and his mercy. And an encouragement to you out there, those believers, hey, take the time to do it. I already know what you're saying. When am I going to do it? You have time. Set aside some time. There's podcasts out there that'll help you, that'll guide you through Christian meditation, the idea of sitting and focusing, slowing down, and focusing on a specific part of Scripture. So that's been cool. However, that's sort of juxtaposed. Big word. Look it up. All right. Juxtaposed. Funtern, pay attention. He's not listening. Look up juxtaposed. Anyway.
I've never heard that word in my life. I'm excited to know what it means.
Anyway, if I used it wrong, it'd be embarrassing. But anyway, it's sort of clashing with this idea. Mm-hmm. So on the one hand, I've got this peace that I'm having. But I still have these areas, man, where I'm really struggling. And we had to talk about this yesterday and the day before, I think. Mm-hmm. It's driving me crazy. And this isn't good. Okay, so I'm not staying here. People are just not real. People are just constantly lying. All the time. We lie about the stupidest things.
It's true.
Right? Hey, Todd, how are you doing? Hey, man, are you upset? No, I'm not upset. Whereas if I would do what the Bible says and go, yes, I'm having a really rough day and I'm sad. But I don't want to do that, right? Because in the moment, like, he won't care. Or I'm not going to let him know I'm sad or whatever, right? Mm. Or I'm thinking of a guy, I don't even want to say it. I can't. We're on camera. The point is, there's people that I know really well that drives me crazy because they're sort of manipulating everyone, right? You manipulate when you don't tell people the truth in order to get a response. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It makes
well, I
sense.
don't lie, don't you? Like, I just realized, I guess I've been struck lately with man, people we choose delusion over reality because delusion feels safer, but it's not better.
Definitely.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. 100.
Did you find juxtaposed?
Yes.
What do we got?
It is a juxtaposed, which is spelled in a way that does not make sense.
It's got an X in it. Anyway.
It does. And a tuh. Anyways, that will be place or deal with close together for contrasting effect. The example is black and white photos of slums were starkly juxtaposed with color images.
In this case, my joy and peace is juxtaposed with my frustration about... anyway,
That's a crit. Dad, you got a good
I used to read
vocabulary, man, for real.
Use those words in books no more. It makes me sad.
Bro, I didn't know that was a word. Literally, if someone would have said that to me, I'd be like, that's the made up word.
I remember I tried to get a word going I made up called scrapping. But not used in the sense of fighting. Like, hey, what are you up to, man? I'm just scrapping. Just scrapping with my boys. Just chilling. It really meant anything and everything. I tried it in high school, me and my friends. Literally, after a while, so a few people started saying it. Nice. They didn't know what it meant, though.
Yeah, just scrapping.
Hey, what's up, man? It can mean anything.
I love it.
Like, hey, where you guys going? Hey, we just going scrapping. What have you been up to? Hey, we're just scrapping, man.
Yes.
Anyway. So but realizing that like, and it's weird, man. It's like an impatience. Believe it or not, this frustration I've had about it doesn't come from a place of arrogance. It comes from like, say it was you, and I'm talking to you like, hey man, what's up? And I got to spend 45 minutes just for you to say you're sad. This isn't actually AJ, but let's say that's the case.
Sure.
Lately, I've just been so like, God, can we just skip to the part where what you're really feeling so I can know you and love you and speak to you and we can. But people don't do that, man. You know, and they would rather make me feel stupid or you feel stupid for even pushing into it, like than be free and do what God tells us to do, and especially among His people. He talks about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Carry each other's burdens, and this way fulfill the law of Christ. Cry with those who weep with those who weep. Have joy with those who have joy. But we can't do that if we're constantly fake.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
It does.
And
make
again,
sense.
I'm not even meaning this in a critical way. Clearly, I am. That's a lie. But I don't mean it like it's just such a weird place to be because it makes me want to not talk. It's sad.
exhausting.
Huh?
It's exhausting.
It's exhausting. That's exactly the word it is, dude.
Yeah.
It's exhausting.
Especially when you see it in like everybody.
Yes, so many of us, man. So, what's funny is when you're honest, you look like a weirdo. You're considered a weirdo.
Yeah, dude, that's Christianity.
Yeah. So,
Even within itself, like Christianity, even within Christians, looks weird because it's masquerade. It's what you talk about. Like, it's the game. Like
preach, yeah. And it's sad because the only people that gets hurt are that's not true. Everyone does. A lot of lonely people. A lot of
people feel exactly.
A lot of
feel
marriages
alone.
that are are shambles, hidden behind a veneer of perfection.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I think we're always trying to hold on to this small bit of just like control in the sense of like we have to feel like there is something like good. Like,
but there is
because
good.
For some
there's
reason,
real good. We don't have to fake good.
Yes, because there's God. Like there's
but even life, right? Say someone's marriage is struggling. Does that mean you suck as a human being?
I think people tend to think that.
But you know what it ties to? I don't even think of this. It ties to what you said individually about the mirror. People don't want to deal with the mirror, and they think that everyone else is going to think they're a piece of garbage too.
Exactly, and so then I think they
exhausting.
would rather ignore that and try to hold on to any sort of good. I think that's why when you question something about people who think they're good at something and you question it, they freak out because that's the one thing that they're trying to hold on to.
Well, here's the thing. Why is it if you make a mistake or fail in a moment, it means you're not good at something? Like really good basketball players have a bad game. Does that mean they're not good basketball players?
Michael Jordan missed game-winning shots.
Yeah. He said that, right? Mm-hmm. He talks about that. You didn't count the however many I took and missed.
Yeah, that's right.
But I took them.
Yep, exactly.
I kept taking them.
Mm-hmm. And then you talk about the ones I made.
Which also fits back in what we said about grinding. Like, guys like that, same with Kobe, right? Back then. Those guys kept shooting. That's what made them.
Just keep shooting. Yep.
Yeah. Nice. It's it'd be a cool tattoo. Keep shooting.
Nice. Bang, bang.
I
know. I just, Mick Foley came to my mind.
Anyway,
switched.
That's where I've been.
I think the meditation thing is really cool, man.
God's good.
I want to try it.
Well, make sure you get a chicken to sacrifice. I'm just kidding, because there's somebody out there.
Make sure you get a chicken.
I feel like I make fun of a lot of times. I just have this vision of mine of these certain like pastors or Christian that come in and pop in long enough to try to find something to be mad about. You know that I say it all the time. So that's who I'm kind of like. He said the word meditation. That's evil. Even though Psalm 1 uses the word, he who meditates on the word of the Lord. You know?
Yeah.
But hey, man, not in there.
Not in there.
So, anyway, I don't know. That was probably a lot of rambling. For
no,
nothing,
man, I loved it, dude. I appreciate you sharing, dude. And I think that, it makes sense with, like, the frustration because I think, first off, you look at it in the ring of society. That's society.
Oh, yeah.
That's the world.
Which it's not as frustrating there because it's more frustrating among Christians.
Exactly, and then it makes its way in. It leaks its way into now. You got it in the ring of the church with a capital C. You see that, and it's frustrating. It's angering, and then you see it within the ring of your own church, and you go, "Well, gosh dang, that's even more frustrating." And then it just keeps working its way in, friends or.
Yeah, all the way into your inner circle. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and here's the thing. So I'll say this. I don't want to end there with criticism. I'm really working lately, and I think it's making me. People don't know how to take me. Like I'm trying to continue to be even more honest.
which is great.
You know what I mean? To the point of like, yeah. And again, guys, listen. Honesty does not mean give into every evil impulse we have. We certainly filter
Right.
it through the lens of the Word of God. You know,
right,
and we're
man.
supposed to fight our flesh. So like me wanting to call Clint a bad name or something crazy, right? And me doing it's like I'm just being honest is not right.
Right, that's
Because
not
we just
good.
talked about 1 Peter 3:10 and 11, right? Let no evil come from your lips. You know, those. So clearly I'm supposed to do that. But like if I'm sad or I'm down or I'm lonely or I made a mistake, you know, that's the other thing. When you make a mistake, but you're too scared to admit it. You know what's sad? You think you've made things easier, but you will always live in this fear of like, if they really knew me, they wouldn't want me. Versus the peace that would come from I share this with you and you look at me and go, hey, dude, I'm still with you.
Yep.
There's freedom in that. You know
There
what I
is
mean?
freedom in that.
So-
100% agree with that, man.
So in the context of that, that's kind of where I'm going. I'm having some relational, just in general, relational conflict lately, and so that's been hard. And speaking of being real, it's like I'm not suggesting that you go tell every person your most personal details, but there should be some people,
Yeah.
right? And within the
Yep.
church, and a lot of times there isn't. And so when I say that, I've had some people ask me, and sometimes it's hard, man, because it's such a weird thing. Because in the church, even though we kind of hide from each other, we'll still ask each other at times. But a lot of times people don't really want the real answer. So it kind of goes both ways. I don't want to really share my real heart, but I also don't really want to hear yours because it's messy and I don't want to get involved. So I shared some with you guys last night, some kind of where I'm at. But I feel that sometimes where it's like people don't really want to know. I'm also struck by how little people okay, I'll include myself. At times, like we don't ask questions. So have you ever listened to a conversation? How much of a conversation between person A and person B is just constant statements at each other with no questions, just assumptions? So like you might say to me, you know, Todd, you really hurt my feelings yesterday when you made me feel disrespected. And I go, I didn't make you feel disrespected. I don't ever mean to do that. Instead of going, what I should have said is, how did I make you feel disrespected?
Yep.
You see how that conversation, that guys, I'm all over the place today, but that's okay. Let
I
me
love
give
it.
you
Let's
one
do it.
clue on active communication. You want to be a better communicator. You want to have better communication with your friends, your spouse, your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother. I'm use that example. Most of the time, someone shares a hurt. Let's say they are being real.
Yep.
AJ says to me, Todd, you hurt me by disrespecting me yesterday. My first response is to say, no, I didn't, because maybe I didn't mean to disrespect him. Typically, I'm not saying you're lying. You
Most
were
of the
like,
time you're not.
how could I? I know I wasn't trying to disrespect him, so I didn't do it. Versus, so instead I say, well, I didn't mean to do that, and I would never mean to do that, and I love you. Versus, which isn't terrible.
Right.
Which one's going to make you more feel loved? Well, how did I do that to you?
That
Right?
one.
And then you answer it, and then I go, oh man, I'm really sorry. That wasn't my intention. Now I say it. Most people just want to go, no, I didn't do that. I'm like, you know how arrogant you are? If someone comes to you and says that you hurt them, or they hurt, yeah, you hurt them, and you tell them, no, I didn't, because you didn't mean to.
Yeah.
You see how it becomes like you become God? You're determining what reality is.
Yep.
Versus, and by the way, it doesn't mean that everyone's always right. Like maybe your thing, you disrespected me by telling me no, in which case I might be like, okay, dude, it's not disrespectful to tell you that I didn't want to, I don't know, go to that party yesterday.
Right.
But I do love you and I'm sorry for me. You know what I'm saying? But maybe I blew you off and I didn't mean to. But does that make it any less painful to you?
No.
Should I still care?
Absolutely.
Does this make sense or am I all
Yeah,
over
man.
the place right now?
No, I think that's a really good lesson and tip for people to hear.
Ask questions.
Yeah, man.
Stop assuming. Stop being defensive. That's what he was talking about in the witness stand. And ask questions.
Yep.
Qualifying questions. I try to always ask at least one question when someone shares something with me.
It's good.
And because also it genuinely helps me understand. I used to do it all the time. I used to constantly, like when I was growing up, that I lived in a house where it was kind of like bang, 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 right? So you get in the habit of that. And it's like, man, I don't like that for myself. So I want to start asking.
Me too,
How long
man.
are we?
I like
too
that.
long right now? Funtern? Okay.
Yeah, man, I agree, dude. Like, I 100% think like asking questions is such a good way to become a better conversationist. Like, you'll have much better conversations with people when you can just ask questions. It doesn't even matter if you don't even know anything about what maybe they're even talking about, and especially with like, quote, conflict. Like, if someone's coming to you, like, you need to respect the fact that they have the courage to come to you and tell them that you've hurt them. And, like, you need to respect that, and you need to not just take the proverbial ping pong ball and just smack it right back at them. You need to take it and actually think about it for a second. That's good. I like that. I will say that for me personally, that's really good for me to hear, because I think sometimes I get anxious sometimes, and I think like that I have to defend myself sometimes. Like, I know for me, like, I think that's not my heart, and then that can turn into coming off even more as a jerk, or like coming off, like you said, like, or it can hurt people more, because instead of like, you're making it about yourself in that moment still. Instead of hearing the courage and the hurt that they're coming to you, you're just making it about yourself and going, well, it's like what you said, well, wasn't my intention, or that wasn't my heart. It's like, man, like I it's just stupid when you
Here's
do
the
that.
thing, and I'm not saying that you have to accept everything everyone says as though you did it, right? Because sometimes people are going to be offended at you and attack you. All I'm saying is you can't really make a judgment on that unless you know what they're talking about.
Exactly.
And so I like that you said that, man. And the other thing is we should, like, you can still share your heart after it. I'm just saying people will be the number one thing that people want in relationships of any kind, and this includes friendships, family, marriage, they may not say it, is they want to feel heard. And heard just means they want to feel like someone cares what they're saying and feeling. And the breakdown of communication happens when we don't do that. Right? Does that make sense? That's just my thoughts on it. So
100% agree.
Something I've been pondering, and I want, kind of ties into frustration, but in turn, it always makes sure that I really want to keep. I think I do that, but I really want to make sure I'm continuing to do that. And I think if we'd all do that, and we'd slow down and let ourselves care more about the other person than we do about the image in the mirror that this might ruin, going back to what you said,
yep, that's good.
then we'd all get along a lot better. And that includes also even being willing to say, well, we have a question in here actually that kind of goes with it. It's a good segue.
Nice.
I'll bring it up when it happens, but
Heck yeah.
because someone says, hey, I know it's not truth, but I feel this way. But anyway, I will start. Thanks for hearing my rambling, folks. Welcome to this TED Talk.
Welcome to this TED Talk.
Todd Talk, TED Talk, AJ Talk, whatever.
Let's get it.
Here we go. If you and a buddy was stranded, this is question number 1 of our anonymous questions. You too can ask questions or get our thoughts on a link or whatever at www.theremnant.live/real-talk. The real in that is REAL.
Boom.
All right. And you'll go down to submit a question, click the button, tippity tap, hit submit, goes into a database, complete anonymously. Couldn't find you if you tried. There. Number 1 of our anonymous questions today. If you and a buddy were stranded on an island and your buddy dies, would it be sinful to eat them if it was the last food that you had access to?
Listen, man, here's the thing. I don't think it's sinful because it's a survival
the way you said it.
It's a survival situation, okay? You did not voluntarily go murder this person and then eat them. Like, that's not what happened. They're already dead, okay? That's what it says, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, your buddy dies.
Died.
That's right.
So you're saying assuming you didn't kill him.
That's right. Assuming you didn't kill him, because if you kill him, you already sinned. Why are you even asking this question? So I would say it's not sinful, man. I think that it'd be weird, but you got to do what you got to do to survive, So no, I'm gonna go with it's not sinful.
This is I love this question because it's such a real talk type question because it's something you don't think about.
No.
Well, let me preface by saying I don't know if I'm starving to death. If that even crosses my mind in the moment in my flesh, no pun intended. If that's sin, I'm just gonna be like
hunger.
I don't know, man. Do you think you'd start to even want to eat them, or would you have to make the conscious decision? Like, do you think you would see that body and be like, I want to eat them, or would you have to tell yourself, I'm going to eat them? I think you'd have to tell yourself because humans don't naturally want to eat each other.
We don't have that primal.
Like, it's not like seeing a deer dead. You know what I mean? For most healthy brained people.
Right.
That being said, man, I guess at the end of the day, this scenario is very specific, by the way. You're on an island, you're stranded.
Right.
They pass away from malnourishment, I don't know. And you then eat them. Is that a sin? Now, God judges the heart. So assuming your heart literally was not hate-filled or, you murderous.
Right. Yeah,
I
exactly.
guess not.
No, man, because you're just trying to survive. It literally says it's the last food you had access to.
Okay.
So you're talking last resort here. Like,
Man, we can't even find a coconut or a fish. But I guess in this scenario, they very much...
yeah, they're saying this is your last option. If you want to survive, you got to eat your friend. So at that point, like, I agree with you. I think it would be more of a conscious decision because I feel like we're not like a primal being that's just gonna be like meat eat. Like that's not how we are.
I am looking to see about cannibalism being mentioned in the Bible.
Nice.
It is in the Old Testament.
Okay.
It's mentioned several times, but in such case, the practice is regarded as horrible curse and an inhumane act of desperation.
Huh.
Moses and other prophets predicted if the Israelites forsook God, they would fall into such awful degradation as to cannibalize their own children. Ooh.
Jeez.
Um,
Ugh.
I'm trying to see if it... Murdering... Well, we already know that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here we go. What about cannibalizing someone who's already dead in order to prevent starvation? This is not an entirely hypothetical question, as survival cannibalism has occurred. Donner Party, everybody's heard that. And this 1972 plane crash. Dude, did you ever hear about this? The soccer team, they crashed in the Andes in 72, and the same thing happened to 8 people.
Wow.
Oh, wow. This website says, however, given the Bible's wholly negative portrayal of cannibalism, it would seem that self-preservation cannot justify such barbarism. Even in the direst and most desperate circumstances, cannibalism should not be a consideration.
Really?
It says, in summary, while Scripture gives no explicit command against it, from the beginning, God made it clear that mankind is unique and distinct from the animal kingdom. The Old Testament closely associates cannibalism with the final stages of judgment from God, thus marked as a loathsome and evil practice.
Man. So they're saying you should just die.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a good argument because we are not animals. So you are eating something that's made in the image of God. I could see that.
The other thing is it will drive you mad.
That's if you eat the brain, I thought.
The blood.
It's the blood.
Your blood is toxic to other humans. If you consume enough human blood, it starts to mess with you.
Oh, I think.
It's
Well,
like mad
let
cow
me pause.
disease.
Let me pause. Do I 100% believe that eating a human is going to mess you up? But I know what you're talking about, and I'm pretty sure, like the actual mad cow disease. I thought it came from the brain.
Huh.
But either way, guys, I'm going to tell you right now, it is an evil, horrifying thing. I kind of got my mind changed.
Well, after hearing that.
Here's why, though. Here's why. The thing that got me was not any of the argument until the end. We are distinct from animals, and you're eating something made in the image of God.
Yeah, I didn't
think about it either. Because it's not just meat, man. Though, the other argument is, at that point, the person isn't in there. Anyway, great question.
Yeah.
We're going to say err on the side of not eating them.
Yeah. Yeah,
into
because at
Leviticus
first I was like,
later.
you know what, man? I don't think it's
What?
sinful.
With some more looking into Leviticus later.
Yeah, it's actually mentioned Leviticus, yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I started at like, you know what, man? Nah, it ain't a big deal. And
Well,
I'm
from
like,
a
and
human
that-
perspective,
and
you
now I'm
don't.
like, well, now it's like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't do that now.
Yeah.
Huh.
Anyway.
I guess now I can justify like I'm just gonna die. What do you mean, man? There's a body there. It's against God. Can't do it.
I won't eat him. Yeah, all right. What do you got?
All right. Next question is in John 12:16. It says after he had been given his glory. I'm gonna assume that's Jesus.
Yeah, it is.
Is that glory just the praise and the psalm branches, or is it something else? This is a follow-up question in John 12:16. I use the CEV version for
I'm just going to
references.
read the CSB here.
Yep.
It says, this was at the triumphal entry. It was right after. It said, Jesus found a young donkey and sat on it, just as it is written, fear no more, daughter Zion. Look, your kingdom's coming, sitting on a donkey's colt. This was foretold hundreds, thousands of years before, right?
in the
Hundreds
Old
of-
Testament, right?
Yes, Old Testament. So it says after that in 16, his disciples did not understand these things at first, didn't understand he was referencing that it was the Messiah and all that. However, when Jesus was glorified, they then remembered that these things had been written about him and that they had done these things to him. It means when he died and was resurrected. So when Jesus went up and left them, they put it all together.
Man.
So when he went to his glory, remember, he had forsook his glory to come here. And when he was glorified, they're saying, so essentially then it all clicked for them that he had fulfilled all the prophecies. Make sense?
Yep.
Moving on, here we go. How have you guys been doing with your challenge of living, quote, the best life? Still settling for mud pies? Have you been joyful? Best life comes from a sermon we just had here at the Remnant. Go check it out. Maybe you can link that for them.
Yeah, you can link that.
The best life in the description of this podcast or this video or whatever, you'll see a link to that sermon. But it's about the best life, and C.S. Lewis talks about that a lot of times, our standards are too low as humans because we think we can't be happy and joyful and live a good life, so we settle for mud pies, and meaning when we could have a vacation. So we just focus on these peddly things like create identity out of sex and alcohol and, trying to distract ourselves when we can have far more than that.
That's right.
Anyway, so the challenge is, being joyful. So how have you guys been doing with your challenge of living the best life? Still settling for mud pies? Have you been joyful?
I definitely am still settling for mud pies and in there.
Didn't expect you to say that. So.
and definitely in certain areas, like, I think that's part of kind of like what I said at the beginning of this episode is like, I've a lot of the mud pie that I've been eating lately is that I just let fear take over, man. Fear runs a lot of my life, and like that gets me in a lot of trouble. Like it puts me in bad situations all the time, and it's exhausting, it's overwhelming. And it's paralyzing at times where I don't want to do anything. So like
I get that.
That's definitely that's the biggest slice of mud pie I've been eating.
Yum yum.
But have I been joyful? Like I've had my moments where I've been really down, but I also know like, yeah, man, like I am joyful. Like, there's always hope. Every day is new, and like, I try to keep that in mind. So yeah, like I'm joyful still. Especially from like yesterday, we had a really good conversation yesterday, and that really, I was able to feel the joy from being real, the joy that comes after that, whether it's a hard time or not. Like there was joy in there. So like, yeah, I've been joyful.
Sorry.
I'm definitely not in a constant state of joy, but.
Well, and the challenge, too, to be specific, is referencing, that we can have the best life possible for us by following God's directions. That God gives us specific do's and don'ts, right? And we forget this sometimes, that lead to the best life. So for me, I think it's a little bit of both. The specific challenge is related to 1 Peter chapter 3, verses 10 and 11. Speak no evil, let no deceit come from your mind, all these types of things. So how are we doing on that? I feel I'm on the journey, and I think this question, thank you for asking, because I think it's a good reminder to stay focused on that. And have I been joyful? I think I've been decently, right? I think I'm kind of like you. I think I've had moments. Last night I snapped and kind of had a break where I was just sharing some stress. But I think even in doing that is me trying to do.
You're trying to find the joy
and trying to share and do what the Bible says. Let you guys help carry my burdens. And vice versa. So. Hey man, I can do better. I'm gonna keep doing better, but
me too, man.
But thank you for that reminder, and I don't want to settle for mud pies.
No mud
I want to settle for the joy of the Lord,
the Lord pie.
Cannibalism, man. We just talked about it. Don't.
Sorry, God.
Yeah. All right. I think that answers the question, right? Funtern, how you been?
I think
good,
so.
Doing okay in the best life here?
Yeah, I've been just trying to figure things out. I actually think I'm doing probably the best I've been in a while now. Just truly questioning things that I've been not wanting to question, or even just looking at my life in the way of like, hey, this is what what you're supposed to do. Why haven't you been doing it? Or why have you been accepting this is just enough? You're gonna be okay here. You can just stay right here. And then going, no, that's not what Jesus wants for me, and that's not the plan, and it's not okay. So, I'm doing pretty good with that.
Nice, man.
Cool. That is good. So how have you been doing, person who asked this question? It's a great question.
Nice.
Are you living? And remember, it's not just about having joy. I don't want to minimize this. This isn't a joy sermon necessarily. It's about having the best life. That the pursuit of happiness in this life is not sinful. It's not sinful to be happy. And sometimes as Christians, we glorify misery. As though that's holier,
It's
weird.
very true.
God gave us a desire to be happy for a reason, and I think it's possible. Now,
Amen.
being happy, you might go, well, I'm happy if I have $1 billion. That doesn't, no, you accept God's way is the best life, right?
Yes.
Because what if you getting $1 billion led you down a road of debauchery? We don't know. Anyway, great question. Thank you for asking it.
Yeah,
what do you got, man? You're up.
All right. Next question is in Mark 12:18 to 25, a group of people came to Jesus asking who a woman would belong to when they all went to heaven, since she'd married all the brothers to the original man she had married. Jesus tells them that they don't marry or have marriage in heaven. So does that mean that when we go to heaven, we won't truly be with the people we are now? Like when a husband passes away and shortly later the wife will pass, everyone says at least they're reunited in heaven. Do you think they truly reunite?
Yes. So to be specific, they're trying to mess with Jesus because there's sort of two conflicting viewpoints. He's challenged by a lot of different groups within the Jewish law. So there's some in the Jewish law who believe that they didn't agree. I'm sorry, the Jewish law and the Jewish faith at the time, like a sect, they didn't believe in the resurrection, physical resurrection, etc. So they're trying to mess with him theologically and be like, well, explain this then, because remember Jesus said, hey, you're going to be reborn and all these things.
Right.
You're going to be, you have new bodies, new life. So they set the scenario. They say, okay, one brother, and in the Jewish law, if one brother married someone and the brother died with no heirs, essentially, then the other brother could marry her and kind of, or if he had it, and sort of fulfill that role and all the way down the line. So they say this scenario where I think there's like 7 brothers, and they say they all married her, and then they died. Whose wife is she? Good question. Right?
Yeah, it's interesting.
In the context, it's good.
Right.
And he says you're messed up because you're misunderstanding that there'll be no marriage in heaven. So what they're saying before you get depressed, and listen, the reason there's no marriage in heaven, there's no need to. We are going to be so close to each other and so free and so in deep relationship that there'll be no need for marriage.
It's wild, man.
Does that make sense?
It's so crazy to think about.
So it'll be a deeper connection than marriage. And so will you be reunited if you're both believers in Christ? Absolutely, you're going to be reunited. But the point is those bonds, like in that, you're going to be so close that you won't even have to talk about that. You know what I'm saying? You're still going to see your husband or spouse or wife. And it sounds sad from a human perspective, but it's going to be better than marriage. You're going to be closer than you've ever been. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So the title of it's going to be irrelevant.
That's good, dude. I like that a lot. I think that answers it well.
Leads to other things, you know. I don't know what's going to happen. Anyway, you have a new Earth later on. I think. Well, how long have we been going today, Funtern?
No, it's probably been a minute.
Yeah, we'll quit. So we have a lot more to ask. Good. I love the discussion today. So thank you guys. Great stuff. Thanks for the question, guys. We have a lot more. I know we've said this before. Clearly, we have not hyped this at all. We're going to drop. They're going to be shocked by this. We're going to either go live or drop a second part this week, or real news, real views video to go more into depth with some of these. Since we spent a lot today doing the kind of where we're at, which we haven't done in a while, to be fair, at least in depth.
I agree.
But be ready for that. We're going to come out and we're just going to drop it and surprise you. So
let's do it, man.
Go live, do something nuts. Who knows? So join us for that.
People.
And we'll answer these questions. Keep the questions coming. We love them. We promise to answer them. And that's why I want to get these questions answered, because we have some really good biblical questions in here from the different gospels. And I get excited about that.
Also,
we've got some great articles.
Yes, we do.
Discuss, and real news that's going on in the world today.
Yes. And there was a specific question that we got that I didn't put in here because I wanted to ask the person. So I hope you watch this. The podcast you want us to listen to. Did you want us to listen to the entire episode, or was there a certain section you want us to listen to?
I think I completely missed this.
Yes, because someone put a podcast link, and they asked us, "What do you think about this podcast?" So
did you open the podcast?
I did.
Who is the podcast?
What's her? It was some lady. Dang it, what was it called? But
well, clearly I'm gonna go do it.
Yes, well, it's interesting because it's about it's the guest that she has on her podcast. It's essentially about her getting vaccinated, and then there's some she had some interesting side effects that affected her, and now she's gotten kind of shadow banned from trying to speak out about it. That was the premise of it. I read the premise of the podcast. So I wanted to ask you: do you want an opinion on the entire episode, or is there a certain section that you found intriguing that you want us to listen in on?
You know what? Maybe by the time you even see this, we'll have listened and we'll be dropping the live one anyway.
That's fair.
So, okay, I pulled it up here.
Yep.
50. Yeah, we'll give it a listen. We'll figure it out. But I mean, if you get this before that, let us know. Otherwise, we'll listen to the whole thing. Who cares?
Awesome.
See what's going on. I'm excited. We're going to bring it to you this week. A lot of fun stuff. We hope you join you. We're going to bring some extra guests on if we do the real news, real views. I'm dropping this on them now.
I love it.
Come and join us. Join the discussion. Join the encouragement. Join the friendship.
The friendship.
As we sit around the table and have
A fire.
Real talk. Nope. No fire. Okay. You got anything you want to say?
Just thank you so much, guys, for watching this. 152 episodes. You guys are freaking awesome.
Heck yeah.
You know, we're at a century and a half. So crazy, man. Love you guys. If you guys are watching from Facebook, please like, share, put a comment on this in the thread. I don't know if you guys tried to put anything last week because I saw the comments were kind of down. So I don't know if we were getting they were kind of deleting your comments again or what. If not, you guys are slacking. So you need to get on it.
Slacking, tacking. We love interacting.
Nice. That was a good rhyme, dude. Now, if you're watching from YouTube, please, if you haven't, and if it's your first time watching, please subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you can get notified the next time we post. If you are watching from Rumble, please give us a Rumble Jumble. Hashtag Rumble Jumble. Love you
I want
guys.
to box you, Jake Paul. Anyway,
Jake Paul, you heard it here
I
first.
called you out.
I'm gonna send this to you directly.
I will fight Jake Paul.
I'm gonna cut this specific part.
If I lose, I'll retire from Real Talk. Anyway, go on. What do you got?
That's it for me. That's my spiel.
Sorry, I meant Funtern.
That was
good.
got you.
Alrighty. After that ridiculousness, oh boy, the amount of things that are going to happen because of that.
I
Anyways,
stick to what I said.
Stick to it.
if you're listening on the podcast, we greatly appreciate that you're here, and we want you to keep coming back. If you're on any place that has reviews, please drop us a 5-star review and say something a little bit in there. Say something. You can talk. We've talked about your favorite candy. We've talked about your favorite sandwich. Let's talk about your favorite TV dinner. Bring it back in the day.
Nugget ones?
Oh yeah, they're
Brownies.
good. They're good.
Huh?
The brownie.
Yeah. Oof.
The best part.
The best part.
I like the mashed potatoes. Anyway.
All right, and you go ahead and drop that down in the review and below. We would be glad to see it, or you can drop something heartfelt too if you want. You don't just have to drop down your favorite TV dinner. But as always,
I can't
if
think of
you
anything but
don't
TV dinners
like,
now. Anyway, sorry. Go on.
if you didn't like this and you disagree and you downright hate us now, and you don't want to talk about it or have a nice discussion, we ask you to move on down the line, and we were glad to have you, and we're sorry that you didn't like us, and we hope you have a good life. But if you don't like us and still want to have a nice discussion and maybe even chop it up and want to have that nice,
talk it out.
respectful argument, we're also down for that. You know that the link is below, but we ask you don't leave a review because it doesn't help us on the business end of things. So have a great day, and this was awesome.
Thank you, Funtern. And all I can think about are TV dinners.
It's
So good.
dude. We should get some.
Yeah. Anyway, heads up. One other thing we want to mention, we haven't mentioned before. Guys, we do sponsorships. So if you're someone, a local business person, or even not a local business, if you're an organization, we have done food, particularly in the past. You'll see back here a bunch of hot sauces. I'm not just saying this. We reached thousands of people. That's a fact. If you'd like to get your product sponsored, you want to send us some, and for those listening, we don't lie. We would love to do that. If you're a local business, we'd love to give you an opportunity to share what you're doing.
That's right.
And that'll go.
Sponsored episode.
Yeah.
Boom.
And in return, that's going to go directly back into the show, which is a ministry to reach you folks out there. So if you know someone, a local business, small business, or even national that wants, some pretty cheap, really, it's donation kind of based advertising, this is an opportunity. It's a way for you to go right back in the show because this is entirely funded by the Remnant Church. And from those of you that have donated, we have people that donate. You can donate anytime at www.theremnant.life/give. Go down the drop-down box to Real Talk. It goes directly back into the show. Guys, listen, we're not driving around in Cadillacs or whatever. Nope. This is just an opportunity for you to partner with us to encourage and answer the tough questions that people might have.
That's right.
And if you're a local business, you get to do that, support that, and get your product out to the masses.
Boom.
I know for a fact that we had a bunch of these hot sauce companies got
Business
from 100%.
Definitely.
So we haven't talked about that before, but it's a good opportunity.
Oh, absolutely.
Hey, other than that, we love you guys so much. What a great show. We're excited to bring more things to bless you this week. If you have any ideas of what you'd love to see in this show, things that are different, things that we could do better, or things that you just want to give us ideas, please consider sending us that at www.theremnant.life/real-talk. That's REAL-talk.
Boom.
We would love to hear it. Keep sending those questions, comments, concerns, all that beautiful stuff. We'll keep answering them. And other than that, Hope you guys have a great day. Love you, man. Love you. Great show.
Love you.
Have a great day and God bless you.